welcome to Let's Talk Diz, a show that gives you everything you need to know to help make your Disney vacation as magical as can be in just about 20 minutes. I'm your host, Jeff Coviello. With me each week is Disney Master Sandy from Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services. Sandy, how are you this week?
I'm doing well, but I'm struggling a little bit tonight. I can't find the cabin story to make up my bed. Nobody offered me a 3-course dinner. There are not unlimited Mickey bars when I open the freezer. I'm having a little bit of a hard time.
Oh man, the struggle must be so real. That must mean you're just coming off of a ship, which is why we are here tonight to talk about the latest and greatest from Disney Cruise Line. Give us a little introduction as to what you just came off of.
Well, as we say, I think the Imagineers have a contest for long titles. I was at the very first day of Disney's Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point on the island of Eleuthera.
Oh, that just flows right off the tongue.
You know, it's funny. I would say on the ship I was on, it was pretty split 50-50 from people either calling it Lookout Cay or Lighthouse Point, with the exception of an executive or two. That long title was definitely left behind, but we were, as I said, on the island of Eleuthera in the Bahamas.
So I think that's really where I want to begin, right? Is because for any folks that have done Disney cruises, you know, Castaway is really the first thing that we think of, Castaway Cay. So talk to us.
Still there. I want to be very clear. It is still there. Ships are still pulling up. This is a second island because of the number of ships that are based out of Florida now and will continue to be. They can't all only visit one island. There are not enough days in the week. Right.
So talk to us about, like, if we're familiar with Castaway, those that are listening, like, where is this island in relation to it?
This is 115 miles south of Castaway. We sailed out of Fort Lauderdale. So on the Fort Lauderdale sailings, it has the stop there for shorter itineraries. I was on a 3-night. There are 4 nights. But if you're coming from north of there, out of Port Canaveral, the 3 and 4 nights will still continue to go to Castaway. That is the reasonable sailing distance. It's those longer itineraries that are currently sailing, like the Fantasy just left on a 7-night sailing. An incredible sailing, if you ask me. They got to do both islands, and for the premiere sailing, they did Lookout Cay twice.
Oh, wow.
So you can get this with different ships and different itineraries. It is not exclusive to one particular person. Okay.
Well, that's good to know. So I'm just going to kind of reference this by dealing with Castaway as my main focal point, because that's what people that are cruisers tend to know. And one of the big things about Castaway is it's a private island that Disney has, right? So when we were hearing that Disney was adding this extra island to it, there was a lot of questions. So what information can you give us in relation to how it is or is not like Castaway, I guess?
I'd love to. And I think you and I and many of our listeners and fellow cruisers have the same problem. We don't like change, and we're always comparing. So you're going to hear a lot of that comparison in this show. It's hard not to. It is not a private island, which I will be honest, they didn't talk about a lot. I had heard Eleuthera more times than I could count before I stepped foot on the ship. But maybe shame on me. I didn't research it at all. And Eleuthera is actually 110 miles long. So
wow.
Very large island as opposed to that 3 miles of Castaway.
Yeah.
There are 9,200 residents living on Eleuthera. Huh. And it is a very long island. It's got 2 big points to it. It kind of curves a bit. So lots of different places for people to boat and go around and even see our beaches, our cabanas, and see everything. But this portion of the island was purchased by Disney back in 2019. And it really, obviously, Disney's working with the Bahamian government already on Castaway. But every contract is different. And so this one, they really worked with the Bahamian government, or the Bahamian government really wanted to work with them on keeping the sustainability of the island and being very purposeful and sustainable construction, environmental awareness. And although they were selling them a large portion of the island, that they wanted it to stay pristine, undeveloped. The agreement was that They were developing less than 20% of what they purchased. And 190 acres of that land was also donated back to the government. It doesn't go into details about for what, but I can only assume, just like everything else, you get off a ship and while it's not huge, you do clear customs. Those of you that have been to Castaway, you may or may not think about it, but that little hut that you walk through, I mean, it's literally something that you could huff and puff and blow over. But that is where the officials wait for you, and that is a customs clearing, so to speak. You do show ID on your way back onto the ship.
So you mentioned that it's 110 miles, that there are 9,200 residents that are there. So my question to you, really, before we even get into the wonderful things that are there, when you get off the ship, where is it that you're primarily focusing your time? Can you go all over the 110 miles, or is there really just an area where they've kind of filtered you to spend your time?
You definitely cannot go all over the 110 miles. It is a 3-hour drive from one point of the island to the far point. They own a portion of the island. And again, it's an interesting kind of partnership, because one of the other things, partly in line with this sustainability, but partly in line, those of you who have been to Castaway, you know that the ship backs into Castaway. And there's several times a year where, try as hard as he might and as skilled as the captain is, the ship misses the port of Castaway because they can't get in. And that has to do with how close to the island the dock is built, and that ability to walk right off the ship. You walk a extremely short distance where you get to that customs spot, and then you're getting on a tram to head to the actual part of the island that people beach and enjoy. Where here, they built the dock pretty far out. The good news is it doesn't disturb any of the reefs and the beauty of the ocean and things in the land there. The bad news is we're all teasing. There is no official 5K yet on this island. We know many love it on Castaway.
Sure, I've run it, yes.
Not quite the 5K, but it is 0.6 of a mile from the ship to just beyond that customs point, which is the tram stop where you must get on the tram, because the beach part for the majority of Disney's guests is not accessible by walking. It is a 12 to 14 minute tram ride. And again, we're all, especially those of us up north, we are there for fun in the sun. And so sun there is. And I would say that if you attempted to walk, even though they don't let you, and there's lots of signs, they will stop you. It is all kind of that brutal, just like when you do the 5K and you're running down that landing strip. It is hot, it is sunny, it is warm. So they have their portion of the island. What's unique and not overly publicly put out there is that guests, people living on the island, can purchase a day pass and use that part, Disney's part of the island. That is part of the agreement they have. I don't think that's a widely known fact. I will say it was not overrun with people that were not guests on the ship. Again, there's that novelty to it in the beginning, but I'm pretty confident it will wear off pretty quickly.
So you mentioned that you have to get there by tram. So that's out of the way so far. We know that. But set the scene of what it looks like on the island, right? Or what are we seeing at first glance when you first had eyes on it?
When you're still on the ship and looking at the island, it is gorgeous. I mean, the water is crystal clear. You do see, if you look off to the right, a row of cabanas. We'll talk about the cabanas a little later in the show, but it's kind of interesting that the family cabanas are set right at the port, not where everything else is. But when you actually enter that part of the island where you're going to spend the day, it's gorgeous pink sand, beautiful clear water. You can see out for miles. It is a heavenly day.
So let's break it down then, because once you're there, talk to us about all sorts of things that make this experience wonderful.
You're going to hop off your tram, and they do run 2 trams at a time. Unlike Castaway, they realize the length of the trip and that walking is not possible. They do their best to really keep those trams running. You arrive kind of at a quick little welcome center. That's where there is a guest services booth, a first aid booth. One thing that we did miss on this island that it does not sound like after talking to them we will see, those of you who have been to Castaway, one of those very first things on the island is the post office. There's no post office here. They said you can bring your cards back to the ship and they will certainly mail them for you. But that idea that, you could mail a postcard that might get home 6 months after you is not an option here.
Oh, dang.
But they do have right there the complimentary strollers, the wagons. So if you're there with a family, it does make it easy to get around because it is a pretty big island section. And unlike Castaway, where you take that first tram and then you can transfer to a second one, this island does have a family beach as well as Serenity Bay, but it is all at that tram stop. So the tram's whole purpose is, from just after you get off the ship to the main part of the island that we're going to and back. There is no additional location to go to.
Okay, so I guess let's try to get as much information out there as we possibly can as far as things to do, things to eat, et cetera, because no one's been there, right? Or very few people have been there. So give us the breakdown of all things Lookout Cay at Lighthouse Point.
If you want to see and do it all, I will tell you, it's going to be tough. It is a lot of stuff, and they've really put in some great features. So when we get off, of course, right before we can even get to the beach, we get to Disney Tings, all things Disney that you might want as souvenirs.
Okay.
Again, it was the first cruise. I will tell you, the souvenir shop was beyond crazy.
Oh, I'm sure.
I definitely recommend leaving some time and picking your stuff up at the end. You'll walk right past it. Right after that, again, along with that idea of environmental and cultural awareness, you get to Treasures of Eleuthera. And I would say, think of it like a mini straw market that you have in Nassau. They've got those woven bags and even the ones with the raffia with the characters on it. They've got art pieces, lots of things you can buy from the locals, supporting the locals, run by the locals. There is not a cast member in that store. That is their island's treasures. Just like you do have that on Castaway, but on Castaway you really have to go looking for it because it's all the way at the very far end of the beach.
Merchandising, the first thing you see, of course.
Merchandising, the first thing you see. You're entering pretty center on their portion of the island or the portion they want you on. You can head to your right. Obviously, there's beach in front of you, to the right, to the left, everywhere there's beach. But if you keep going to the right, you're going to get to True True Barbecue. No more cookies and cookies too. True True Barbecue is the place so that you don't have to go back to the ship to eat. They've done some modifications. It is not the same exact menu that we have at Cookies. One thing I am grateful for, it may be just me, I am really glad that they got rid of the oily potato chips and replaced them with French fries. They've got some local specialties. The other thing they did here, I would say kind of a lesson that they learned from Castaway, they have 5 seating areas surrounding the True True Barbecue. So they're actually numbered pavilions 1 to 5. So you can say to your family, I'm going to get a seat, and they can easily find you later. Well shaded, easy to get to, plenty of space. Of course, it wouldn't be a Disney island without the unlimited free non-alcoholic beverage bar, the soft serve ice cream, all the things there that we've come to love. Keep going to your right. You'll find Sebastian's Cove, which has youth activities, the Play Pavilion, which has a lot of little games you can play, and there are characters that will stop in there. Triton's Trumpet Stage, another spot for character appearances. I also loved the Rush Out, Gush Out, which was their family water pavilion, some smaller slides, water squirting things, a lot of fun. all of this with beautiful views of the ocean. Definitely couldn't miss it.
Sounds awesome.
It really is. You know, if you're looking for that blue sky, blue water, beautiful sandy beach, that's the view you're getting. And you're able to enjoy that from all over the island. I will say I did a little stop before I headed to the other half of the island. They have plenty of little places for you to buy some mommy juice, as I like to call it.
Nice.
They have a couple of specialties. Unfortunately, one of them, the non-alcoholic one, they were out of, so I did not get to try the butterfly switcher. They have a drink that is just up your alley, Jeff. It is the Eleuthera Euphora. It's an aged rum with pineapple juice and, of course, served over Dole Whip pineapple.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. I mean, like, honestly, though, like you place yourself in the middle of legitimate paradise and you have a drink over a Dole Whip. It doesn't sound much better. Honestly.
Well, I had the Junkanoo juice, and we're going to talk about Junkanoo in a minute.
Okay.
I think I'm going to be a Junkanoo juice fan. It is rum, banana, passion, orange, guava juice, pineapple, and lime. Could have done those all day.
Yeah, it sounds good too.
They also, because it is hot here. I mean, again, this was June. This is obviously warmer than you're going to find in January, but this is not the height of the season. So I loved that the alcoholic drinks were served in those stainless steel cups that they had chilled so that your drink stayed cold for more than 3 minutes, which was very nice.
Sure.
And then after I had my little juice, I headed over towards the other side of the island where I was able to go to True 2 Barbecue.
We just worked really hard on that name.
They did, you know?
Yeah.
So there are 2 full locations serving the same exact food. Again, 5 more of those little shells nicely in the shade so that you could take your break from the heat and the sun, enjoy your lunch. And if you keep walking, you will get to a sign that says, "Welcome to Serenity Bay, 18 and over only." So you literally are just walking straight down the beach, straight down their boardwalk area. It is all set back from the ocean. Because of the tide and things down there, it was interesting. We could really see that water tide line. There were 2 rows of chairs with umbrellas, just like you find at Castaway, that combination of 2 lounge chairs, 2 low beach chairs, and an umbrella, so plenty of shade. 2 rows of that. Then a pretty high dune with a lot of that ocean grass growing on it, and then more rows of chairs behind it. So not everybody is right down on the water. There are parts where the dunes are pretty high. They built kind of little boardwalks with stairs to get you down the dune onto the main beach area. But again, if you're on the family beach and you look left, you can see the people swimming at Serenity Bay. And likewise, if you're on Serenity Bay, you can look to your right and see the swimmers there. There is an additional adults-only dining area at Serenity Bay with just 1 large covered area for everybody. But again, absolutely beautiful water. One of the things I thought was interesting, and I asked a couple of people who gave me a very definitive "I don't think so" answer. Currently, there is no float rental, which I find strange.
Well, only because of your past experience.
I love to just take the float, lay on it, whether I'm laying on my back and sunning or laying over it and relax. I don't want to swim in the ocean. I don't want to stand there. So if you're looking for something, bring your own blow up pool noodle, or actually my last cruise, I got these great little blow up hammocky seats. I can put a link in the show notes to pick those up. It surprised me they weren't capitalizing on that. You can rent scuba equipment. Unlike Castaway, there are no sunken treasures. Again, they are limited in what they can do environmentally due to their arrangement with the Bahamian government here.
Well, I do want to kind of mention that too, because based on our conversations, it sounds like there's something that's tied onto here that also speaks to the culture of the island, correct?
There is. I think a highlight for me, honestly, was learning about Junkanoo. So if I talked about going right when you get off the trams and going left, but if you go dead center and kind of cover your eyes and don't get caught in Disney tings and shopping for quite a while,
Sure.
you will run right into the Gombe Cultural Center. And again, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring all of these ideas and history of the island. They have somebody, and it happens 3 times during the day. In the cultural center, there are local people, and they start by, and they are in full, we'll use the word costume, not to be confused with a Disney costume. It is their local Junkanoo costume. And they explain what Junkanoo is, what a Junkanoo parade is, and then you have the opportunity to make your own Junkanoo crown. And I think listening to them talk, they are extremely proud of their culture and extremely excited to be working with Disney. I was saying to friends, nothing against this, but most of the things that you're doing on the Disney ship, when they have the different crafts and things, they are mass-produced, pre-purchased things.
Sure.
When you're making your Junkanoo crown, it is hand-cut by one of these local people out of cardboard, and by cardboard, I mean like brown corrugated cardboard, and then hand-painted with white paint so it is ready for you to decorate. And I just love that it's got that personal touch and their pride. After they talk about Junkanoo and we all get to practice how to play cowbell, I mean, what could be wrong with a day with cowbell?
No, gotta have more.
The Junkanoo parade will begin. And I'll be honest, I'm hoping they kind of figure out a way to relocate the Junkanoo stage a little bit. The parade was awesome. The parade is led by Mickey, Minnie, Donald, and Daisy, followed by about a 20-piece Junkanoo band. And we've got a video over on our Facebook page. You can't listen to the Junkanoo music and not want to dance in your seat and clap along. It is just so much fun. And I will say, whether intentional or not, Daisy was the star of the show.
Good to know.
It didn't matter that it felt like 150 degrees. She really got down and had a great time.
Well, listen, we're coming to the end of the program, but you did mention cabanas earlier on. So I don't want to say goodbye today without talking about what the cabana situation looked like.
You bet. So I mentioned that the family cabanas are, I'm going to use the phrase right off the ship, but I want to remind you that right off the ship is still 0.6 of a mile.
Right.
They are on the beach immediately on your right when you get off. And on the one hand, after you've heard me talk about the long tram ride, it's like, perfect. I don't have to deal with the tram. I get more this time to enjoy the island. That is true. However, I encourage those with families to think about what you do and don't want to do on the island. If you want to go see the Junkanoo parade, if you want to go to Rush Out, Gush Out, if you want to have character photos, you're going to have to take the tram midday. And that round trip tram ride, with waiting for the timing of the tram and everything, is going to take you 30 to 40 minutes out of your day. I'm kind of surprised that area didn't become the adults only beach and keep the family stuff all together. But it's definitely something to think about. And frankly, for adults only, I might think about getting one there if I'm not interested in doing all of those things over at the main beach, because the location can't be beat. As always with cabana guests, they will drive you via golf cart. So that is an option for you as well. They do bring food to the cabanas. They've also made more larger cabanas than ever. So great spot to party. You definitely can enjoy those. But there are cabanas at Serenity Bay, but there are no family cabanas over at the main part of Lookout Cay.
Okay. Well, like I said, we're coming to the end. So anything else you think you would like to share coming off of this brand new experience?
I want to take just a minute to talk about the costumes for the island. And I'm not going to talk about it long because I had the absolute pleasure of meeting Theo Elliott. He's a local of Eleuthera, one of the most humble, down-to-earth people you could ever meet. And I got to listen to him tell his story of his surprise notification from Disney that they wanted him to design the costumes for the characters. And if you haven't seen the new outfits that are there, Lookout Cay only, you will not find them any place but on the island. They're phenomenal. They are done in Junkanoo style. And Theo's agreed to be a guest on our show in just a couple of weeks. So he'll share more detail of how he designed them, what the elements are. And I even got to talk to him after his presentation because some of what he said kind of clicked. And not only stylistically did he design the characters, but he talked about how the characters would behave in a Junkanoo situation. And one of my questions to them was, did you share that with the characters? Because as he was describing what they were doing, I'm like, that was Daisy to a T.
Yeah.
You could see all of the actions. So the costumes are great. You definitely want to see the Junkanoo parade, get your picture taken with all the characters, and stay tuned when Theo joins us in just a couple of weeks.
That's going to be great. I'm really looking forward to that. Listen, I appreciate you biting the bullet as you always do and taking the experience for the team and getting to really get to know this new island and this new experience and sharing it with everybody. I hope you have a great week.
You as well.
That's a wrap this week on Let's Talk Diz. If anyone you know could benefit from this or any show, please share on your Facebook and Instagram for other Disney fans to enjoy. And don't forget to reach out to the folks at Easy Diz by Instant Impressions Travel Services for any Disney destination planning. Make it a great week. And as always, keep making memories.